Hi guys, it's me again. Today I want to be talking about divorced parents. I'm sorry if I have to stop the video for a second or something because I'm coughing because I've been sick, but yeah. Anyways, divorced parents. And for those of you who don't know what divorce is, I'm gonna tell you. It's not a myth, it actually happens. Um, it's when two people are married and they don't want to be married anymore and they want other people, and so they unmarry, I guess. But I mean, it's not that simple, especially when they have kids together. I think it's hardest on the kids. I would know from personal experience, it is very hard on the kids. So my story, when my parents got divorced, I was in fourth grade. It was actually exactly halfway through my fourth grade year. I know this because um, they told me on Christmas Day that they were getting divorced. So that kind of ruined that holiday for me. I mean, I don't know. I've never really been a very celebratory person, anyways. But I always enjoyed Christmas, but not so much anymore. I mean, I do, and I don't ruin it for other people. I go to people's houses and celebrate it, and I give other people presents, and I don't ruin it for other people. But on the inside, I'm kind of like, I don't like this holiday. But you know, that's just my problem. That's my personal problem. But anyways, they told me that they were getting divorced on Christmas Day, and the very next day, my mom moved out, and I remember laying in bed that night, just crying and crying and crying. I was when they told us, we were watching the movie Hoot, which it's about owls. I don't know, but that's besides the point. We were watching the movie Hoot, me and my two older sisters, and my mom came in and turned the TV off. And I remember I was mad at them for turning the TV off. I was like, I want to watch this movie, grr, And then my parents were like, Hey, come into the living room. We need to talk to you. And so me and my sisters were like, well, okay, can we finish the movie? They were like, no, you can't. So um, we went into the kitchen and we sat down. We all sat down around the table. We had this little oval table. Um, and I don't remember exactly what they said. I think I've always blocked out just like bad moments in my life or whatever. But I do remember them just telling us that they're not going to get married anymore and stuff. And I remember one of my sisters, Jordan, she didn't say anything about it. She just kind of sat there. I think she was in shock. But Skylar, I remember she just started crying, and she's like, well, I kind of saw this coming. I knew that things weren't 100% and stuff like that. Like, she's like, I knew that you guys had been fighting and all. Because earlier that year, that summer, my dad had moved out for a little bit. I mean, they were still married, but my dad had moved out. Um, and so that was really hard. And we were also watching a movie then. But anyways, so those, I don't know, I haven't been able to watch those two movies. I don't remember the name of the other movie. It was about two parents getting divorced. But anyways, after my dad moved back in when the school year started, I didn't know what to do. I thought that everything, I was young. I don't know how old I was. I was in fourth grade, eight, I don't know, 8, 9. Anyways, but I was young. I couldn't tell that my parents were fighting. I didn't tell that they weren't getting along very well. And so the divorce was really, really hard on me, and my parents just asked me, and they're like, did you see this coming? Did you know that this was going to happen? And I just said no. I didn't know that there was anything wrong, because when my parents would fight, they would wait until, of course, I was asleep. They weren't going to fight while I'm awake or anything. But yeah, and so I didn't see this coming. I was totally blindsided by it, and it broke my heart, and it was at the time the hardest thing that I had to go through. And I remember I had to go back to school, and I had to have people asking me about it because my mom taught at the school, and so my best friend's mom was also a teacher there, so of course my mom would talk to her mom, like all the teachers knew about it, so my best friend's mom knew about it, so my best friend found out, and she would ask me about it, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. um it was really hard, and I remember just that night I was just crying, and it was really late. Well, for a fourth grader, for me it was really late. And I remember going into my parents' bedroom and sitting on their bed just crying, and they're like, what is it, what do you want? And I just remember asking them, I was like, can I please go move with mom tomorrow? I want to leave with mom. And they both started crying, but I don't know, I didn't want my mom to be alone. I knew that my sisters were going to stay with my dad at the time, and so I went with my mom, and we didn't move, away. We moved to a different town, but I still went to the same school and everything. The town was only like 20 minutes away and everything. But that was the first big change that I ever went through, and it was hard. It was so hard. And like, the best advice that I can give to someone whose parents are being divorced, don't if your parents don't get along and they just talk bad about your mom or your dad or something, don't get caught up in the middle of that. Don't listen to them. I mean, have your own opinions, because if you don't have your own opinions, then you're going to get sucked into your parents' opinions, and then you're never going to have your own mind, and then you're going to ruin your relationship with your mother or your father, and you don't want that, because your parents, even if they get divorced and you feel like they don't pay any attention to you or anything, they do, and they love you. They really, really do love you, and this is something that I've had the hardest time dealing with my father. I mean, we really don't get along, and it's a work in progress, and I know that it's going to take some time to getting used to, but it's not the end of the world, and everything's going to be okay. And maybe sometimes, and maybe it's for the best, because you don't want to live in a house where the two adults in the house, the two mature people, the two people who were supposed to love you are fighting, the two people who are supposed to love each other, and you don't want to feel like it's your fault. It's not your fault. It's never your fault. It's a conflict between two people, and you just happen to be caught up in the middle of it. I mean, maybe, it's hard to believe this at first, but maybe sometimes it is for the best. Yeah, I don't know, it's just something, it's hard to know that your parents don't love each other anymore, and it's not that they don't love each other anymore, because, I mean, what they've been through, I mean, they had a child together, they were married for I don't know how many years, at least mine were. I mean, it's impossible for them not to love each other. Like, I know that my parents, they both told me, they will always, always love each other, but not in the same way, and not as much as they used to, and it's sad. It breaks my heart, and it hurts knowing that my mother is hurting so much, but you know, I think it's for the best, because they're not fighting anymore. They're in a place where they can get along, and I know my mom, I mean, she took this so hard, but I don't know. She wasn't in an environment where she could be happy. I mean, my dad was always angry. They were always fighting, and she loved him. My dad, he really was the love of her life, of her entire life, and I know that it kills her so much, but she's happier now, and she has a boyfriend. I mean, it's been 6 years, 7 years, I don't even know. I don't know. It's been a while, but I mean, they're happier now, and I still, to this day, 6 or 7, I don't know how many years later, I still get so upset over it sometimes. I get so sad, but it's gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's better than being in an environment and being in a house where, I mean, you're fighting all the time, I don't know, but it's gonna be okay. I promise. Just hang in there. Don't choose sides. Just just don't get too caught up in it. Live your life like how you want to live it, and don't think that you can't trust anybody because your parents couldn't, because your parents didn't love each other, because your parents never got along. Don't think that nothing works out, because it does sometimes, and everybody needs to know that. So if your parents are getting divorced or they have gotten divorced, just remember it's not the end of the world. You're not the only one who's going through it, and it's gonna be okay. I mean, it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be okay in the future.